everyone. Let me share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here tonight. Day 4 of Find a Better You, Season 3. And today we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic that majority of us want to uh, make it a reality. So, we live in a culture that often teaches us to be deeply reactive to our circumstances. Like we have been taught since childhood to always check our grades, to check our current bank account, our current job status, our relationship status, uh, everything external that dictates how we feel, how we think, and what we believe is possible for our lives. So we are conditioned to think that we are a passive audience members watching our life unfold by itself, right? So tonight we are here to explore a different paradigm where we are going to talk about the foundational, immutable law of the universe. You create your own reality. When people first hear about you create your own reality or law of attraction, it is often misunderstood as a form of a very superficial, commercialized, fake positivity idea that if you paste a picture on a vision board or smile through immense pain when you're going through hard time, the idea repels most people and they think life will magically transform. But true conscious creation is not a magic trick. It is a profound, disciplined alignment of thought, emotion, and vibration. So, let me. Do you recognize this person? Does anyone know who he is? In the
Jim
chat.
Carrey.
Yes, Jim Carrey. So there is this amazing story. I think some of you may already know this story of manifestation of Jim Carrey. So he is a Canadian American, very famous actor, comedian, and one of my favorites since childhood for his role in the Mask movie. So that's how I know him. He's also a great spiritual master. So he had this manifestation story, and this is a very good example to understand how you can create your own reality, right? So back in the early 1990s, Jim Carrey was a struggling actor. Like he was broke, he had no money, he was facing massive professional rejection. Like wherever he went for auditions, he was rejected, and he was struggling. He was very struggling, and there was no light, there was no hope for him. But instead of letting his broke reality dictate his internal frequency, he did something very different. So he used to drive up to a mountaintop in LA every single night and used to visualize himself as a very respected, successful actor being sought out by directors. So he went so far that he also wrote a check. He wrote a check for himself for $10 million. And he was broke. Okay, his current reality is he was broke. And he wrote a check of $10 million for acting services rendered and paid to his name. And he dated that as 1995 Thanksgiving. Okay, so that was something that he wrote. And he kept that check in his pocket and he used to carry it everywhere he went in his wallet until it practically became very spoiled or deteriorated. So he wasn't just wishing for money, he was anchoring his mind into that feeling of abundance even before he had a physical evidence of it, right? And just in reality, just days before Thanksgiving 1995, he signed a contract for the movie Dumb and Dumber for the exact payout of $10 million. So now imagine that he was struggling financially. He was broke. He was living, technically, he was living out of a car. He had no success, no guarantee, no evidence externally, but internally he held on to possibility, right? And years later, he received that exact same amount for a movie role. Now, whether we see this as manifestation or psychology or coincidence or faith or visualization, one thing is undeniable. He created an internal reality before the outer reality appeared. So, his internal frequency, the internal emotion, irrespective of his external circumstance, was abundance. He was broke. His external reality was he was broke, but his internal emotional baseline frequency was abundance. So he created an inner reality even before that outer reality appeared. So this his story, Jim Carrey's story, demonstrates the core truth of this law that the universe does not respond to what you want. It does not respond to what you desire, but it responds to who you are as a person, at what frequency are you vibrating, what is your baseline emotional state, irrespective of your external life and circumstance. So you manifest what you choose to align your baseline energy with. So the big question now is, do we really create our own reality? Then there are questions like, what about suffering? What about a job loss? What about illness? Right? What about heartbreak? Do we think we all want all these difficult experiences? What about the challenges during difficult times? So there is one important thing to understand in this concept of law of attraction, that creating your own reality does not mean controlling every external event in life. So, creating your own reality does not mean you're controlling everything that is coming into your life. Life will still have uncertainty, it will still have transitions, it will still have pain, loss, unexpected challenges, because that's the whole point of human birth, right? So, we cannot escape those. But what we can influence is our mindset, how we view those challenges, how we perceive those experiences, and how we see those difficult times and navigate through them, the baseline emotional state during that such experiences. So our mindset, our thoughts, our emotional patterns, our awareness, our responses, and the reality we slowly build from that point, right? So this takes us to this fundamental law of universe called the law of attraction, which operates on the principle of like attracts like. So, one of the core principles is that the thoughts, the emotions, the energy we repeatedly hold. That's why I'm highlighting and repeating the word baseline. The baseline energy you hold, the baseline emotional state you hold, irrespective of what is going on in your life, is what is influencing our reality, the reality that we build from that point onwards. So, meaning whatever frequency we vibrate on, which is nothing but our thoughts, our emotions, the beliefs we carry, attract the same experiences into our lives. Because we are all energy beings and thoughts carry energy. Emotion is also energy, it's nothing but energy in motion. And emotions influence our experience. Experience shapes our perception. Perception shapes our identity and our baseline frequency. So this does not mean that if I think about a car today and tomorrow it will magically appear in my driveway. That's not conscious spirituality or conscious manifestation. It's a fantasy. So the deeper meaning is your inner world affects. Your inner world should reflect how are you wanting that car? How are you perceiving your current reality? Are you wanting your dream car from a place of lack? Because I don't have a car, I need a car? Or are you wanting, desiring it from a place of abundance? How are you responding to your current life? What opportunities do you notice? How are you interacting with people? And what emotional energy are you repeatedly living in? For example, if someone is constantly thinking nothing is working out for me, I'm always attracting the same kind of people, same kind of experiences, eventually their confidence drops because their internal dialogue is like, nothing is working. And then fear increases, opportunities feel invisible. They're not, their mind is not attuned to look for opportunities. Irrespective of whether they are there or not, if your mind is attuned to looking, you will definitely find something. Find a way. When there is a will, there is a way, they say, right? So you will definitely find a way if your mind is attuned to finding opportunities. If it is closed, if it is in that victim mode of nothing is working, definitely nothing will work because your mind is not tuned to finding any opportunity. So your life begins to reflect that internal state automatically. Whereas now, let's consider someone who is seeing possibility, like life can improve. Okay, I'm at this state currently, but I definitely see a possibility of improvement. There are possibilities or opportunities for me to grow. And they begin to approach life differently. And their inner world slowly attracts those similar frequencies, similar opportunities, similar experiences. So our inner world is quietly influencing our outer world in a very, very unconscious way for most of us. So, how do we do this? How do we manifest? How do we attract or create our own reality? So, there is a three-step manifestation process which is called ask, believe, and receive. So, according to law of attraction, the manifestation happens in these three stages. So, first step is ask. So most people, the problem is most people are not clear on what they want. They don't know what they truly want. So they cannot ask what they truly want. For example, people just say, I want to be happy. But what does happiness actually mean? It means different thing to different people. It's not always about money for most people. Many wealthy people are unhappy. At the same time, it's not about health also. Many healthy people are also unhappy. So, what does happiness mean to you? What does it look like? What kind of life do you want? What kind of relationships do you want to have that give you happiness? What kind of emotional state? By happy, do you always want to be like laughing, smiling, or do you want to be at peace? Right? That clarity should be there. What are you exactly asking for? So that's why there is this powerful practice of writing, always writing what you want in present tense, not in future tense. Like, I hope to become happy, I hope to become peaceful. That means you're asking from a place of lack. But if you write it in present tense, I am creating peace within myself. I am finding joy in my everyday. And you're like bringing it to your current reality. You're asking from a place of abundance, from a place of presence. So always writing down or journaling what you want. Ask with clarity. For example, you want a car. You should write down what exact brand, model, the color, how the seat should look, how will you feel when you sit in that car. Always it comes down to feeling because that's the thing we are talking about, the baseline emotional state, right? How do you feel in that car? So act as if you are already having the car. And how would you feel? So that emotional state is very important. So there is this one more trait of the universe that you have to focus on what you want. Universe doesn't understand negative words. Like what if you focus on what you don't want, what you don't like, what you hate, all those things we keep attracting. Because we all have people in our lives, in our families, we don't want to be associated with, but they keep coming, right? In our maybe co-workers or family members. Because universe like attracts like, and law of attraction works on vibration. So anything negative, any words, even when writing, if you say I don't want to fail, I don't want anxiety, I don't want stress, it means you still want anxiety, you still want stress, because your focus is still there. Your focus is still on not wanting. So instead of that, write positively. I want success, I want peace, I want happiness. And as I said, in the present tense, I am happy. I have to, I am continuing to be in the state of peace, like that. So mind focuses more on the emotional attention than grammar. For example, if I say, don't think about a pink elephant, what happened? You just thought about a pink elephant, right? So mind focuses on the image. So when people constantly say, I don't want problems, I don't want failure, I don't want stress, their emotional focus is still on problems, it is still on failure, it is still on stress. So instead of that, reframe those sentences, reframe that thought and shift it towards, I am peaceful, I am clear. Even if I'm not clear, I'm getting clarity, right? I want confidence. I am confident. I am becoming the healthiest version of myself. You're in the process. So, what we repeatedly focus on, we emotionally energize. So, focus more on what you truly want once you get the clarity for asking. So, the next step, as we saw, is believe, right? Belief. Ask and believe that it's coming. There's this constant example that we use, that when we put an Amazon order, right, we believe that it will come. Anyway, it will come. And now in spring, all of us are doing gardening, many of us, we plant seeds. Do you go next day and dig out the soil and see if it is sprouting? No, you give it time. You trust it will come, right? Same way, we trust that Amazon is going to deliver our package. But we don't trust the universe. We always have self doubt. We doubt. We ask if will it work? Will it not work? Is it working? All those self doubt keeps popping up. So this is where most of us struggle, because belief is very important. It strengthens our this whole process of creating our own reality. Because every thought, we have like 60, 70,000 thoughts every single day, right? If those thoughts become emotion, that emotion will become belief. And based on this belief, we generate more thoughts. So it's a cycle, the thought, emotion, belief loop, right? So slowly, that belief is exactly what is creating our reality. So repeated thoughts become beliefs. And our action, our habits are all again dependent and sprouting from the same belief. Thoughts are actually temporary, but if we keep them repeating and give emotion to it, they become belief. If someone repeatedly thinks I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I always fail, eventually those thoughts become their identity, right? It strengthens that belief in themselves. And guess what will they attract? They will attract similar circumstances and experiences and people who will make them feel that they're still not good enough. So every belief influences our choice, our relationship, our confidence, our self worth, the risks that we take, the emotional reactions. So, whenever doubt arises, we have to understand that I am creating that reality. Becoming conscious of that thought, becoming conscious of that belief, becoming aware that what emotional state is coming up when you think about that thought or that belief, right? All these are, every second we are creating our next reality. We are manifesting. So receive, that is the belief, right? Third stage is receive. Receive means, again, aligning ourselves. You need to be open to receiving. Now we ask what we want. We have clarity of the car we want, and we are believing that the car will come. Most of us are not ready to receive it, because inside again we have that self doubt. Am I worthy of that car? What will people think? Like how did she get that car when her financial status is not aligning with that car? So all these thoughts, they close our possibility to receive, right? We should be open to reception. So receiving means it's nothing but aligning yourself emotionally with what you desire, even before it physically appears, just like what Jim Carrey did. His reality was nowhere close to what he desired, but his internal state has aligned itself already, irrespective of how his outer world looked. So he was ready to receive whenever it came, right? So if someone desires peace and they spend every single day in chaos, anger, emotional negativity, their vibration is low. So they will only attract, their baseline frequency is low. So they will only attract experiences and people and situations that will continue that frequency. So the inner state is contradictory to their desire, right? So the body and mind must feel aligned. They should be in that possibility, feeling that possibility before the outer world reflects it. That inner peace, irrespective of what is going on, inner steadiness. So that's exactly what is the framework for manifesting. So there are many techniques, many ways to do it, like vision boards, journaling, goal setting for a law of attraction. But most easy for law of attraction, for manifesting, for creating your reality, for everything is awareness. And one of the easiest and the best way to get awareness, as we all know, is through meditation. Right? So, how meditation helps here? Now, how is meditation going to help create your own reality? Right? Because as you've seen in this whole topic that I've discussed so far, it's all coming down to your thought, your emotion, your belief, your internal balance, your internal baseline frequency, your baseline energy, irrespective of what is occurring in your outer reality. It all comes down to your inner state, right? The inner state can be made peaceful, can be made stable only through meditation. Meditation is the best way. There are many other ways, but meditation is the best way because it increases awareness. You become so aware of your mind chatter, you become so aware of what is going on in your body, what emotion is causing, what kind of sensation in which part of your body. Slowly, all these things develop and we become more observant rather than witnessing our life like a spectator. We become observant and conscious creators of our own reality. So that awareness that meditation gives through mindfulness, we become mindful. Example, you're doing some activity in hand, but you're getting many thoughts from the past or fear of the future. If you are into meditation and mindfulness, you will be able to catch yourself and come back to the present moment. Come back and focus on the task at hand. You will brush off you will not get into that thought loop. You will avoid yourself from getting into the victim mode, because if you get into the victim mode, you're going to again reduce your frequency. Your baseline frequency will be reduced. And guess what? That's what we are going to attract more of. So, becoming more mindful of your thought, your emotion, awareness, because awareness always gives us a choice. Now, I have a thought, I have a choice when I'm aware. Do I want to continue with that thought? If I continue with that thought, what will happen? Now, with all this wisdom, you know what will happen, right? Is that thought helping you manifest the reality that you want, or is it uh, taking you away from your desires, right? That awareness gives you a choice, and we always become more responsive than reactive. We become conscious, very conscious, and that's exactly how we create our own reality, even in relationships, right? We become more responsive than reactive because we also understand the other person is also operating from their own emotional patterns or ego patterns. And there is this emotional chaos within gets very calm because we become observant. We learn to pause. Any bad news comes in, it's very difficult to get into that loop because you have this steadiness within you. You automatically pause before anything, any reaction. This automatically raises your vibration because you're always at the baseline peace inside, irrespective of who is triggering you or what is happening in your external reality. Of course, challenges will come, pain will come, we will experience negative emotions, but we are conscious of it. We won't become lost in that loop. We are conscious of it and we try to come back to our regular state. We understand, we have all this wisdom, then we understand it's for my good, it's all for the best, it's working out, right? So you become more intentional in whatever you do, whatever you speak. Unnecessary words won't come out of your mouth. And as I said, you will only use positive, you'll become more positive words, even in asking, even in just thoughts, you'll become very positive because you know that universe doesn't like the negative words. So you become, all this wisdom needs to come in your mind when you think about it. With meditation, we become observant because we are watching our breath, our thoughts come down, our emotions come down, and that pause is strengthened. So it shifts, automatically shifts our inner patterns also. You see a lot of shift in yourself, in you'll be able to see the way you operate in your day to day is where you'll notice that there's a shift in your inner patterns. So this is exactly how you become that conscious creator. A conscious creator is nothing but being aware of the thoughts you're getting and making sure that thought doesn't, if it's a useful thought, only then it becomes an emotion. And only if it's a high vibrational emotion, it should become a belief. And with that belief, you're going to get the reality that you want. So every single day, I would urge you to ask yourself only one question. Like, am I creating consciously or unconsciously? And this comes with meditation. So there are two book recommendations for law of attraction in general or conscious manifestation, which is Secret, which is excellent for beginners on understanding how universe works, how law of attraction works, and there's some very good examples on how to manifest health and all that. And the other book is Ask and It's Given. It's a little more deep dive to understand how manifestation works at a deeper level and how thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions are all dependent on each other and how they create that loop of creating our own reality. That's all I have. I'm open for any questions, comments.